The next consideration that I would like to raise for discussion is identifying strategies to link issues and solutions across diverse communities. And this is one point that Sarah really raises well in her film about downstate and the city of Chicago. I have the pleasure of living both in Chicago and DePaul, Illinois. I used to be a faculty member at NIU, and we still have a house at NIU due to the bad market. And so we spend part of our time in DePaul in a quote-unquote food desert, and then we spend part of our time at 95th Street in the Dan Ryan in a low food access area. And so you really can see the similarities in the non-urban areas and understanding how we can link those issues across the state, across the nation, and make sure that we're not talking about just urban communities, that we're talking about non-urban communities. We're not just talking about African American communities and people of color, although they're disproportionately impacted. We're talking about everybody. It's a national issue. And I wanted to point that out. I know this is sort of difficult to see, but this is data from ERS on the non-metro counties that are high poverty areas in 2000. So we talk a lot about urban African Americans, but if you start, and I have a colleague at UAB we're doing a project with, and we have challenges, but you add race and region and income, you may be dealing with different challenges. So 210 of the high poverty counties that are non-metro are African American. Then when you look at areas like Texas, 74 of the high poverty counties are Hispanic. We tend to forget about our indigenous brothers and sisters that really suffer issues of food access. And we have colleagues like Joe Gittleson at Hopkins that has done some work with First Nations communities in Canada as well as Native communities in the U.S. But many of the high poverty areas are American Indian and Alaska Native. Some don't follow racial lines, but we can't forget about the Southern Highlands like Kentucky, etc., where people are dealing with these same issues. And so we need to figure out how to combine across communities. And Martin Luther King was really rooted in this philosophy of how do we join issues to fight against injustice. And then some of the solutions that people propose, like the food hub, but I won't talk a lot about that based on time. But I want to end with this quote from Dr. King and really highlight his thinking around poverty. Because poverty is not new. Just like food deserts are not new. There's nothing new about poverty. What is new, however, is that we now have the resources to get rid of it. The time has come from an all-out war against poverty. The well-off and the secure have too often become indifferent and oblivious to poverty and deprivation in their midst. Ultimately, a great nation is a compassionate nation. No individual or nation can be great if it does not have a concern for the least of these. Thank you.